Let's freaking go. It's time for the main event. Introducing first. I am ready to talk about some Jacquelin Roy tonight. I am ready to talk some general college football. I have gotten so many DMs from you ladies and gentlemen about my Tennessee prediction during the last live stream. So if you want to talk about that, we will get to that tonight. Super chat is wide open. Venmo, Cash App at Carter the Power. I am feeling wonderful tonight. I am actually pretty sore. I started a new workout regimen, and you should have told me, all you lovely people that are actually in shape, that if you start doing ab workout again in your early 30s, you're going to feel like you got hit by a truck the next day, because that is where I am right now. So to help alleviate the pain, I'm going to need you guys to carry me like you normally do, right? This isn't anything new for you. We're also going to talk quarterback battle. We're also going to talk Garrett Nussmeier, Jaden Daniels, Miles Brennan, Andrew Hatch, Josh Booty, Burt Jones, Marcus Randall. We're going to talk quarterbacks tonight. And boom, I'm looking at you. We say hi to Marcus. We say hi to Chris. We say hi to Nurse Court. Once again, we want you to join our PHL Patreon community. There is Sherry Berry right there. Sherry, I'm telling you, I already have this ready. Once I get all your shirts, I'm still waiting on my next order. It's actually a huge order of shirts. I actually have Sherry Berry's card prize package already ready to go. I have a lot of your prize packages ready to go. Sherry Berry, this has a lot of goodies in there, including some of your favorite players right here. Also some cards for the hubby as well. So we're going to talk to Sherry Berry tonight. LGZ, good to see you. Doug, I puff, puff, pass. Puff, puff, pass on Tennessee, baby. Let's go. So, Chris, you notice I did not put quarterback in the title of the video because the quarterback debate is still the number one topic that I get. So, as many of you know, we break down LSU football very deeply. But to be fair, when it comes to the quarterback battle, it is the biggest story. And it is huge, especially considering we are the only school in the West where nobody knows who the starter is going to be, right? You can make a case for Auburn. You can make a case for Texas A&M. And honestly, Texas A&M, we really don't know. But the other four schools, we have a good idea who their quarterback is going to be. And the East is pretty much like that as well. So that's the thing. That's all everyone's ever going to talk about with LSU. It is a big story. And we do have a lot of quarterback variance. Okay? We don't know who the guy's going to be. Okay? I do want to shout out Jordan, okay? So Jordan's been in Baton Rouge this whole week, and we weren't able to actually link up. But I wanted to show you guys this. This is how much Jordan is a fan of PHL. Bang! Okay? Jordan got himself not only a new school PHL shirt, but an old school PHL shirt. Moment of Zen. I see you, Jordan. I like that. Jordan, I appreciate your support. I can't wait to actually get to meet you, man. And glad you got to go back home this past weekend. Gotta love it. I really appreciate you, man. Really, I really do. I'd rather discuss the coaching staff like we were discussing earlier. Yes. So I am working on something regarding Brian Kelly's history, going up against really good quarterbacks or matchups in which the opposing team's quarterback is better than his quarterback. And honestly, the history is actually pretty good, right? You know, obviously Trevor Lawrence has handled him pretty badly. but he's Trevor Lawrence. And, obviously a lot of Alabama quarterbacks have as well. But outside of that, it's pretty decent history. It honestly is. Okay. Leon, good to see you. So I really do mean it. I really, really do mean it. Ray, good to see you as well. My body is sore. Like, I'm going to be complaining about it all night. I'm going to need you guys to really carry me. Really. I'm looking at Chris. I'm looking at Ray. I'm looking at all of you. Okay. So, Jacquelin Roy's in the title of the video. And you know how sometimes people say, I got a chip on my shoulder, and nobody believes in me. What's very interesting is I did a video last week where I said, you know what? LSU being picked to finish fifth in the SEC West is very fascinating because I doubt most of the people that were at SEC Media Days knows who Jacquelin Roy is. I would say probably half of the media members that went to SEC Media Days knows who Jacquelin Roy is, right? And all Jacquelin Roy has done is be on a lot of first-round mock drafts and a lot of top 50, top 100 big boards. That's all this guy's done. All this guy's done is had 2 really productive seasons in really bad defenses. All this guy did was have an early breakout age, if that matters to you, which means you dominated as a true freshman. That's all he did. And he only followed that up with a phenomenal sophomore season. Had some rough patches, but, back-to-back years, he went out there and was a big reason why we beat Florida. That's all this guy's done, right? He has stepped up for us at a big-time position, okay? And he's not gotten the credit that he deserves. Now, last year, obviously, the story was Neil Farrell, right? And Mason Smith, the breakout Mason Smith year before he got hurt. And then the year before that, we were such a chaotic mess, but the story was more about Ollie Gay and those guys. So what is very interesting, okay, about Jacquelin Roy is, and this is something that we actually brought up in our Discord, is the entire SEC media must not know who Jacquelin Roy is because he was not named on the first team or the second team or the third team all SEC defense, despite being a first-round NFL draft pick on quite a few mocks. Now, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of good defensive linemen in the SEC. Javon Dexter at Florida, Jalen Carter at Georgia, so on and so on. Tennessee's got some good experienced linemen as well. And voting can get kind of weird because some people consider, like, for instance, B.J. Ojolari was listed as a defensive lineman. Will Anderson was listed as a linebacker, I believe. They play the same position, essentially. So defensive line has kind of all gotten mixed together. But if you're going to tell me that Jacquelin Roy is not one of the, 12 best defensive linemen in the SEC, I don't know what to tell you. If I'm Jacquelin Roy, I am writing this down and saying, look, all I've done is have 2 of the best first 2 seasons of any LSU defensive tackle when it comes to pass rushing ever. His pass rushing has been amazing. Jacquelin Roy is being disrespected. Now, this is what we discussed in our private Discord. If you want to be a part in our chat room, it's honestly gotten pretty good. I'm just saying, especially now that Chris is in there. It's lit. The chat room is crazy. Lots of good discussion. We got Marcus in there. Marcus is one of our sharpest viewers. Skipper's in there. Skipper's super smart. It's a lot of fun. But I threw it out there. This year, the SEC media voted first, second, and third team defensive lines. And on the first team, B.J. Ojolari made the first team. On the second team, Ollie Gay made the second team, and Mason Smith made the third team. I'm fine with that. Jalen Carter's probably the best defensive tackle in the SEC. I'd admit that. He's a really good football player. But Jacquelin Roy's not even third team defensive lineman. Not even a third team tackle. Really? The SEC is going to see something special this year. Number 99 could freaking play. That's all I know. Now, is gap discipline always the best? Not really. Can the run defense get a little rough? Yeah. But he is an elite pass rusher as a defensive tackle. Elite. Not good, not great, elite. He's a special football player. And yes, this is his third defensive line coach in 3 years, but if you ask people in the industry, most people would say that Jamar Cain's his best one that he's had yet. We shall see. If he has a big year this year, I mean, he's right there. If he's first team All SEC, he's right there. Kristen, it's been a while. Good to see you. Rick, I hope the anniversary dinner went well this past weekend. Good to see you again. Haven't checked in on you since then. Really happy. You and the wifey. Gotten to know a little bit more about Rick's family. Very successful in Nashville, Tennessee. Shout out to all our Tennessee Tigers. By the way, don't forget, future SEC East champions, Tennessee. When that doesn't happen, you guys are just going to talk so much trash to me. That's perfectly fine. Johnny 5 early in the chat. Really? Somebody check my eyesight here. No, you didn't, Danny. This is my prep right here. SEC show launch. More than likely, it's going to be Monday. I'm serious. I've been working so hard on this. It's part of the reason why you didn't get a video yesterday. I've been working on this project. And yeah. Yeah, Rick, what would be kind of weird is that would actually be a rematch this year. One of the 1 out of 6 years where it would be a rematch. Kristen, I think you just celebrated anniversary not too long ago as well, so shout out to you. But yeah, it would be cool, especially considering. Okay, I don't think Tyler's in here. Okay, so Tyler's our trivia guy. Chris, you know everything, so don't answer this. Can you remember the guy who got the legendary pick 6 versus Tennessee versus Eric Ainge back in 2007? This is a die-hard LSU football channel. This question better be answered in the next 30 seconds. Okay? In the next 30 seconds, I better get this question answered or else I'm shutting off this live stream. Okay? Thank you, Rick. Xenon with the Z, but it still counts. Jonathan Xenon. I'm not going to lie. I know nothing's ever going to be Peterson Claiborne or Claiborne Simon or Fulton Stingley. But let's be honest here. Xenon, Chevis Jackson, most underrated cornerback duo in LSU history. I really do mean that. I know it's easy to say, well, this guy's underrated, that guy's underrated. Chevis Jackson and Jonathan Xenon, neither one of them are probably top 5 or top 10 LSU corners of the modern era. I could say pretty comfortably they're probably not. But they're underrated. Those guys were really good football players. And they were clutch. That was my favorite thing about it. They were clutch. God, Jonathan Xenon. What's up, Jason? I mean, Chevis Jackson, so underrated. I got so many Chevis Jackson cards. I'm kind of a nerd about Chevis. Just because he's just one of those guys that doesn't get, in the famous words of Rodney Dangerfield, doesn't get any respect. By the way, if you are here a little bit later, you guys know a little bit later in the live stream, we venture off into non-LSU topics. I will get back onto my Kevin Hart soapbox a little bit later. So, boom, if you join the PHL T-shirt club tonight, you are getting a Leonard Fournette, let me see, player-worn jersey right here. This has been on Leonard Fournette's body before. Really cool card. I give out a bunch of my Fournette collection because, come on, I think if most of you listed a top 10 your favorite player list, Fournette's probably going to be on there. So I'm sending out another one. I've sent out a bunch of Fournette game-worn jerseys. Let's go on to the next person that joins the PHL T-shirt club. Okay. LA Mom checking in on everybody. Jose, welcome. There you go. So, Rob already won it. Nothing new for old Rob. I love it. Show Rob some love for my gal, Maritza. Did I pronounce this correctly? Maritza. We've got a few Leons in here. Fournette is not a top 10 all-time LSU player. Ari's always throwing out the hot takes. Look, me and Jay Hill have had this conversation before. You guys know I'm the biggest Jay Hill fan. Glad to call him a buddy. Okay. I think he would agree Fournette's number one, right? He and I do agree Fournette's the number one. So he's the number one running back of the modern era. Now, all time, we're going to get into this again. I'm not going to get into all-time discussions here. I'm just not. Like, it's just, it gets silly. I do modern era versus all-time. We got into this during that safety debacle during our last live stream. But Fournette is a top 10 LSU player of the modern era. Okay? And there's only a few guys that are clearly better than him. Really only a few. Fournette's a top 10 LSU player. He's got to be. You can make a case for Geis being a better running back than him, just for on-field endeavors, not to start off a firestorm here. But Fournette's better. Fournette's still better. Okay. And it will take a lot for me to get off that. And I used to think that. I was like, well, maybe Geis was a better pure tackle breaker. He had a little bit more bounce. Fournette was definitely more north than south. I'm just going to out-athlete you. They were different backs. Fournette's better. Fournette versus Jay Hill, I'll give Fournette that. Fournette versus Clyde, Fournette. Fournette versus Hester, Ridley, Scott, Fournette. Okay. Now, top 10 all time, then you start, you got to talk about this guy right here. Probably, I mean, Fournette's probably the best of all time. I'll say it. I don't care. I know he's a Tampa Bay Buck. He's the best. He's the best. Got robbed of not being able to go to New York in 2015. He's the best. Now, is he the best player of all time? No. I mean, we can get into Rick makes a good point about Cecil Collins. Yeah. But really the only guy that has a case versus Fournette, if you include 97 in modern era, is Kev Falk. He's the only guy. And Kev Falk versus Fournette is just too close to call for me because Kev Falk was it's a little bit different. And people that were really around during that time would know more. And that includes This man right here, who I'm gonna be honest with you, there is not a bigger Kev Falk fan than Van Lathan. There's not. There's not. Okay? There's not a bigger Kev Falk fan than Van Lathan in here. Guarantee it. So, Kev Falk is the only guy modern era that I would consider over Fournette. That's if you include late 90s into the modern era. So, Van, you get to pick the next topic. Same thing for you. Rob, any topic you want to, we'll go straight to it. And Van, you let me know what you want to talk about. Let's do it. Thanks again, Van. I appreciate it. But yeah, Van, who would you say? Would you say Kev Falk over Leonard Fournette? I think it's down to those two. And then the next two is Geis, Hill, and I think that's about it. Okay. Van wants to talk special teams. Love to talk special teams. And Van, here's what I'm actually going to do. Yeah, so Van and I talk quite a bit, and I actually didn't talk to him about this because I am working on a deep dive on LSU special teams, okay? Now, I know you can't really read any of this, but there you go. So I'm just going to share with you my biggest concern for LSU special teams, okay? So, and Van says Leonard Fournette still, okay? I mean it. One more thing about Fournette before we get into special teams here, okay? It kind of gets into the LeBron conversation of pressure, okay? Nobody, other than Kev, obviously in the late 90s to get this thing going. But, you know, when recruits weren't going to LSU, and Kev was like one of the first big ones, which led into, you know, the Marcus Spears and the other Louisiana five-star staying in state in that early period right there. But here's the truth, okay? Fournette had to carry teams, all right? And that's where, you know, the Fournette era was probably a little bit overrated because Les Miles put too much on that young man's plate. And Fournette still lived up to the expectations. They put too much on him. And, you know, Leonard's a competitor. He's never going to say that. But when you're asking a guy to 30 carry a game, beat you in post-2000 era football, you're asking too much. You're asking way too much. You know, the number 7 uniform, no running backs in the last class, the post Matthew era, the post Jeremy Hill era. We had lost so much. We had lost Odell, we had lost Jarvis, we had lost Matt, and Fournette had to carry us. Now, we did have Will Clapp and Ethan Posick, Mike Toema. We had some really good offensive linemen during that time to help us run the kind of system we were going to run. And we did have really good backup running backs in Darrell Williams and Darius Geis, and those guys won a lot of games for us as well. But Fournette, it's hard to carry a team as a running back. It's really freaking hard. And all Leonard Fournette did was just that. And, you know, he doesn't get enough credit for how much less actually hurt him in the long run because, you know, to say, hey, you know, we're going to 3 yards at a cloud of dust and beat Alabama, it's just not going to work. Now, I want to talk about special teams, okay? So, here's what I want you to do. Wherever you're watching right now, okay? And actually, let's take away special teams and let's just take a look at the last few years of LSU football. And it's going to tie in together. Just at least hear me out for a second. I want you right now in the comment section, all right? wherever you're watching, I'm looking at you right now, okay? I'm looking at Mick. I'm looking at every single one of you. Stop what you're doing and answer this question. Who was the most dominant multi-year player at LSU since 2019? Okay. The most dominant multi-year player at LSU since 2019. Okay. I want you to comment right now who you think that is. Okay. The most dominant multi-year player at LSU since 2019. Nationally ranked, best at their position. Just let me know. Okay. Cade York, Cade York, Cade York, Cade York. Devin White, last year was 2018. So since 2019, just think of the most dominant multi-year player. Okay. York, 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 York. Kicker. Baskerville, was good. York, York. Look at this. So Nurse Cord is a big special teams fan. Okay. So she knows the answer to this. She knows me fairly well as well. Okay. Cade York, Damon Clark, Atkins. So the answer actually is Avery Atkins. Cade York was also the best kicker as well. So you can make a case for Cade York. But what we just witnessed, and honestly, you can make a case for Kayshawn when he's healthy. But what we just witnessed from Avery Atkins is one of the most unprecedented runs in LSU history ever at any position. And I know he's just a kickoff specialist. Okay. So what did Avery Atkins do? So first thing, we have to understand kickoff specialists. So Van wants to talk special teams. We're about to get really deep into special teams right now. And I know we normally think kicker and punter. Okay. So first thing about kicker, Nathan Dilbert, can he handle the pressure being a first-year kicker? Well, the first thing I would say is I'm not sure if he's going to be the kicker, right? I think Ezekiel Mata has a better shot at actually being the field goal kicker than we would like to expect. Now, the way I understand it is Dilbert obviously is more talented. He was a number 2 kicker in the country. But Ezekiel Mata is a really solid kicker who kicked well in the spring game and has been around. At punter, obviously, the back and forth between Peyton Todd and Bramlett from Notre Dame is going to be very interesting. But more than likely, the Notre Dame transfer, Bramlett's going to be the guy. Okay? So, what's very fascinating about this, though, is we don't talk enough about Avery Atkins. Okay? Avery Atkins. Okay. First thing we need to understand about kickoffs is that kickoffs changed in 2012. So in 2012, there was a big rule change. Kickoffs were moved from the 30-yard line to the 35-yard line, okay? And touchbacks moved from the 20 to the 25-yard line. So what the NCAA was thinking was, okay, if you move the touchback line up to the 35, you're going to get more touchbacks. But that's not exactly what happened. Yes, touchback percentage went up, but it didn't go up as high as you probably thought it would. What's very interesting is on average, there are 6-ish programs every year that have a touchback percentage of 80% or higher, okay? That's really high, okay? 4 out of every 5-year kicks go into the end zone. You would think that that number would be higher, though. You would think that there would be more than 6-ish big lead kickers out there every year in college football. It's not the case. All Avery Atkins did was have a touchback percentage of 80% or higher in 3 out of his last 4 seasons. And the year that he didn't do it was in 2020, where he averaged 76% touchback percentage. Okay? So really think about that. This guy did this, and no one else could. No one else has ever been able to consistently boot the ball out of the back of the end zone. And what's funny is when Avery Atkins actually does a kickoff, his form is different, right? I read a really good story about this in the Reveille, and I went back and watched his technique. It was very interesting. Okay. I won't get into how it was different, but still, I'm a former soccer player. I was an emergency kicker-ish as well when I played in high school. And Avery Atkins was an all-state soccer player. He also benched 330. And what's interesting is Avery Atkins, when he actually didn't have a touchback, could go make a tackle. In 2018, one of the few, he only had like six or seven kicks that didn't go for touchbacks. That was his best year. He actually had a fumble recovery. So when he didn't actually kick the football out of the end zone, he was a really good member of the kickoff team in and of itself. So you might not think it's a big deal, but it is, because when you kick the football out of the back of the end zone, it alleviates the potential of an explosive play from the other team. But even more importantly, arguably, it alleviates the collisions that happen to your teams on kickoff, which then theoretically lowers your injury rate on your team. And let's not forget, Avery Atkins was the first ever special teamer to get the number 18 uniform. And he was also the punter last year, and he was a really solid punter. So every year we kept asking him to do more things, and he only got more dominant. Okay. 2018 was his best year, but all 4 of his years, he was phenomenal. So we'll never see him again. Now, LSU brings in Trey Finnison from Northwestern to be the kickoff specialist, okay, who has not been a kickoff specialist since 2019. These past couple of seasons, Northwestern has gone with somebody else. Now, why did LSU went to go get Trey Finnison? Well, they need a kickoff specialist. Not many of the big leggers out there, right? What's very interesting is Avery Atkins is from Auburn, Alabama, right? And he, Jeff Grimes is a big reason why he got to LSU. I think I read in a story that he lived down the street from Jeff Grimes growing up because Jeff Grimes was at Auburn, so on and so on. But what's interesting is Notre Dame's punter, who is transferring over, Jay Bramblett, is from Tuscaloosa. Trey Finnison, the new LSU kickoff specialist, if he actually is going to be the kickoff specialist, is also from Tuscaloosa. So you are going from kickoff specialist and punter being from Auburn, and this year a punter and kicker from Tuscaloosa. Just some interesting facts for you. So, Van, to answer your question about special teams, I honestly think the biggest loss is Atkins. You lose your punter, you lose your kicker, you lose your leader, a guy that worked his tail off. I've been doing a lot of research on Avery Atkins, and people I trust with this information kept telling me this was the hardest working guy on the team. I'm going to miss him. That guy was just a really, really good football player. And what's funny is he does have an extra year of eligibility, right? But I think he just wanted to move on with his life. I totally get it. The NFL, there's not a market for kickoff specialists, and I don't know why there isn't. And then you forget about Zach Van Rosenberg. That's a good point, Nurse Court. I know you love special teams. So Van, for me, I think that's the biggest loss. I know Cade York has a bigger impact on the game. So really, Cade York is your biggest loss because he was such a great kicker. But it's harder to replace what Avery Atkins did for the team because it's just hard. Rob wants to bring back the safety debate. That's fine. Ron Landry over Grant Delpit. Okay, you can make that case. That's fine. One of those guys is a Thorpe, though. Just throwing that out there. Huh? I'm kidding, though. Yeah, you can make a case for LeBron. You can. So then we get to the next part about special teams, which is very interesting, is returning. Trey Palmer was a really good return guy for LSU. Okay. And it did help out. It is an extra added value that your best returner is not one of your best actual offensive players. Okay. The best thing about Trenton Holiday being a great returner is that if he were to go out, your offense could still run as normal. Now you would lose a key gadget guy who would, give you an occasional big carry here or there. But that's extra. It's good when you don't have to worry about your receiver getting hurt on kickoff return. And that was a big added benefit of Trey Palmer. So you take Trey Palmer out as far as like your kickoff returner, and we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think Malik Neighbors is going to get a good look there, and I think Chris Hilton's going to get a good look there. Now, as far as deep snapper, we already know Slade Roy's going to take care of it. Yeah, Trenton Holiday was a really good returner. He was a really good returner. Probably the best kickoff returner ever at LSU. And as a gadget guy, he'll give you an occasional big carry. But yeah. My point, though, was it wasn't like if Kayshawn was returning your kicks this year, or Alabama a few years ago, Jalen Waddle got hurt on a kickoff return. And while he is, one of the best return guys in the SEC, returns can lead to very nasty injuries. Bramblett on the Ray Guy Award. I saw that. The one thing about those award watch lists, though, there's like 50,000 of them. And I'm glad you brought that up, Chris. Jacquelin Roy did get mentioned for the Bronco Nagurski, so that's good. DC, good to see ya. William, what's good? There's one of our diehard PHLers holding down the East Coast. I bet as receiver, I'm looking forward to seeing Landon. Yeah, he could play. Tony, good to see ya. Hope you're doing fantastic, my friend. Carl the Cat. I'm just trying to see everybody. Say welcome everybody in. But it is ridiculous, right? The crazy thing, to go back to Van special teams, is that one of the more visible coaches, and some of it is because of his pedigree. He was a former head coach, and he is the son of one of the most famous NFL minds of the modern era, is Coach Polian, Brian Polian. Okay. The one position group that was consistently elite was special teams. Greg McMahon was the real deal. He was a really, really, really good coach at LSU. And he is the last person to blame for everything falling apart. And it goes to show you that while special teams is a very important facet, you can have your best kicker of all time. You can have your best. Avery Atkins is the best kickoff specialist ever. And Zach Van Rosenberg, I mean, Brad Wing, Donnie Jones, you'd probably take those guys over ZVR, but ZVR was really good. Really, really good. There's been a lot of good punters at LSU. Okay. ZVR was really good. And we had those guys all together at the same time for 2019. Obviously, ZVR didn't play last year. But Atkins, ZVR, York, it's never going to get better than that. So I'm glad Van brought it up because we haven't talked a whole lot about special teams. And I've been looking at it. What's really interesting about the kickoff specialists, what makes kickoffs very interesting is it is the only thing we have in football where you control your outcome the most, right? There's no defense. Now, if you do an onside kick, obviously, there's going to be, the front line. But a kickoff specialist is something that you control. It's just you and the ball. Now, obviously, wind plays a factor, pressure, how many kicks you have in a game, and so on and so on. But it is the most self-controlled thing that we have in the sport, maybe outside of deep snapper. But still, even at deep snapper, punter's got to be ready. Accuracy, kickoff. All we want you to do is find some way to blast it out of the back of the end zone. Adam, good to see you. Feeling good tonight, fellas and ladies. Feeling fantastic. I could feel like crap all day. Once I'm here, I feel like I could just hang out forever. So, big shout out to all 92 of you. We did get over 100. That's normally a good live stream. I'm always happy with the hundo. If you are new, we've had a lot of newbies. We had a ton of newbies during our last live stream. All I ask is hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, like the video. Obviously, the super chats are very nice. I'm very glad to have gotten to know Rob and Van and a lot of you. But the most important thing is for you to help grow this PHL movement. Okay. It is very, very, very important that you subscribe, ring the bell, but tell somebody else about this channel. Okay. It's just diehard LSU football. If you are tuning into this channel, yes, I go on an occasional diatribe about something else. I normally save that for the very end, 2 hours in. We're LSU football all the time. That's all you're going to get. Sometimes it's recruiting, sometimes it's current, sometimes it's past, and it's all modern era. Okay? Think of somebody in your mind that you know is a diehard LSU football fan. Okay? Think of your most diehard brother, cousin. Think of that person and share this channel with them, and I guarantee you they'll be hooked. You bet it's good to see you in the PHL fam as well. It's good to see you, Adam. Liking the mustache game as well. One of my SEC buddies, I haven't talked to him in a while, is Peter Burns. I know Peter Burns, SEC Network. He went with the mustache recently. I saw Brody Miller of The Athletic went to the mustache only recently. Very interesting stuff. So, Adam, it's good to see you as well. And did you see that Adam's donation is the color orange? And you guys know what the color orange represents? It represents the future SEC East champions, Tennessee Volunteers. Telling you. My only thing about Tennessee is I'm not in love with their defense. I know they had a lot of plays last year because their offense plays at a lightning pace, but they had 2 members of their secondary go high in the NFL draft, and their yard per pass attempt numbers were horrible. Even if you take out the Purdue game where their best members of the secondary opted out, their pass defense wasn't that great. Adam, you get to pick the next topic, as do you, Nola Grizz. Good to see you, Nola Grizz. Every time, drop it in. Good to see you. I'm still mad, though, because Nola Grizz and his wife, I don't know your wife's name, but shout out to her. They both are members of the PHL T-shirt club, and I'm going to get to meet them here in a few weeks when I'm down there in New Orleans. They don't know it yet, but we'll be down there. doing a show down there. Pretty excited about it. PHL is the best LSU football show out there. Soon 1,000 people tuning in. It'll be a small number. Get the game in a chokehold card. There you go. My favorite thing, though, about having 100 is like it's very conversational. 1,000, hey, I'd love 1,000. My goal is to do national stuff, do general SEC stuff. Gotta love it. So Nola Grizz, Adam, you get to pick the next topics. Whatever you guys want to talk about LSU football related. Had the Fournette discussion a minute ago. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's take a quick sip of this. Shout out to Chris, one of my really good friends. Love you, man. Thank you for this. I love this cup. It's so cool. Oh, good Italian food. I love it. I love Italian food. I'm chubby. I love the carbs. Bring on the carbs. Meet up in NOLA. It's going to be kind of sort of close to the stadium. So I can't say where exactly it's going to be, but we do have a venue picked out. And it's going to be a lot of fun. And you will be the first to know, Brett. Chance, there you go. Huh? Yes, we actually do have a location. And it's ironic because Van actually made a joke about what this location actually does as their business. And I've actually been to these kind of places before, and they're a lot of fun. Now, let your mind wonder what type of place that is. So yeah. Oh, look at this. Adam changed his PHL shirt. Look at that. We get the PHL shirt. We get the mustache. I love it. I want to welcome in Stubby. Hey, y'all better be ready. It's dangerous. I'm not going to lie. It could be dangerous. Stubby, welcome to the channel. Sorry if you don't care, but what kind of format would you want for the SEC pods or no? Stubby, hang around just for a second, and we shall chat about it. Okay? Cats meow. But anyway, we go to Adam here. You see, we do a few jokes. We get right back in LSU football stuff. Nola Grizz, we'll talk about Frank Wilson in just a second, okay? I'm still watching into the QB battle. They keep saying whoever makes the best decisions that could make plays. There you go. Well, it's the two biggest things, right? You know, for me, Adam, it's important what you actually tell your quarterback, what the main goals are, okay? So for some quarterbacks, you don't have to tell them a lot, right? Like you don't have to tell Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes what to do. You just trust their own judgment. In college, it's not like that. You have to have symbiosis between your QB, OC, and head coach. And once again, if you have Joe Burrow at quarterback, it doesn't matter. You trust Joe to make the play and his weapons to get open. Okay? Still watching into the quarterback battles. But that's it. You know, as far as making the best decision, all three of them have some decision-making issues. They do. And all three of them have the ability to make plays. Now, they're different kinds of plays, but still. Now, I know since we are chatting about quarterbacks again, that's going to dominate the next 10 or 15 minutes. So, Adam, I'll get back into the quarterback thing. I think you'd find this interesting as well. I always like to answer first timer questions. I want to make them feel welcome. I'll get to the SEC pod thing in just a second. Um, Off topic, it's not off topic. I've heard so far from the show, but some friends are having a discussion. Okay, once again, very key here. Nola Grizz is not saying sources, he is saying just friends. Frank Wilson being groomed as the next LSU coach, depending on how the BK era goes. What do I think about that? Okay, let's say theoretically, and it's not going to be, nobody clip this and make me look horrible. The Brian Kelly era, it's going to take a lot for this to just be a burning disaster. It's not going to be, because to be a decent head coach at LSU, you have to have a pulse. That is all that's required to be decent. Brian Kelly has more of a pulse. He's got more pedigree than the last two guys. Now, the last two guys were in overall weaker SECs, but the SEC was still really, really good. And even though BK is in a more difficult SEC, and I don't think it's really close, honestly, he BK is not going to be so bad that we're going to be trying whatever it takes to get him out 3 or 4 years into this. Brian Kelly's going to be your coach at LSU for a long time. At 60, I don't see anywhere better than LSU he could potentially go at 60. Because, you either make it work here or you can't make it work anywhere. This is a top 5 job. If you can't win at a top 5, no less than top 10 job, then no one's really going to want you anyway. Even who cares what you did at Notre Dame? So the truth is, it's Brian Kelly's going to be fine. But let's just say the BK era is going mediocrely. I'm guessing Frank Wilson is who you're talking about here as FW taking over. I don't see that happening, right? Because as long as Scott Woodward is the athletic director at LSU, he is not going to get a coach that has little to none Power 5 head coaching experience. That's the bottom line. Okay? You have got to really have accomplished something to, as a head coach, to be the coach at LSU at one of the major sports under Scott Woodward. Now, you can make a case that Frank Wilson is better at his job than any other coach in the country. And I would be fine with Frank Wilson. He's already the associate head coach. I would be fine with Frank Wilson being a head coach at some point down the road. But I just don't think that I don't think that this hypothetical number one is going to happen. And number two, it's not Scott Woodward's track record. It's just not. Like, look at the last few head coaches. Jay Johnson had Arizona ascending in Arizona was one of the best programs in the country. They were super regional hosting and all that stuff. Then he just hired Kim Mulkey. I don't know who he could have hired better than that, other than Gino Oriama, and he's never leaving UConn. Then he hired Brian Kelly, the most winning coach that has ever been hired from one school to another. It's all it's just not Woodward. He's not an experiment guy. I'm going to get someone I know. So it's not to say Frank Wilson can't be a good head coach down the road. He could, and he's been a head coach before. It's just it's not something Woody would do. And that's the thing, maybe the heir apparent, like if Brian Kelly wins so much in the next 5 years and he says, I want to hang it up, I got enough money, and Frank Wilson transitions, if everything's running right, then yeah, that's what you would do. Kind of like what they did with Ryan Day and Lincoln Riley. But Rick makes a really good point here. And this gets into a different question. And Adam, we're going to get back into the quarterbacks. This is very, very, very interesting now. If you're Frank Wilson, would you want to do this? Right? There's something to be said about not doing the press conferences, not doing the interviews, not doing all the schmoozing. It could be tiresome. And I know Brian Kelly makes 10x what Frank Wilson makes, but Frank Wilson makes what head coaches make at non-Power 5 Division I head coaches, right? So Sun Belt head coaches make what Frank Wilson makes every year, okay? Now, Frank Wilson, once again, is probably the most accomplished assistant coach on this staff, okay? He probably is, especially in terms, if you look at it through an LSU lens, okay? You look at the players he's recruited, Fournette, Hill, Geis, Tyrann Mathieu. He's the best recruiter at LSU of all time. Make a strong case. He is the best non-play calling coach at LSU ever. And that is not, that's not including him right now. I mean, previously, his 5-year run was incredible. Okay. But the truth here is what Rick is saying right here. To make $900,000 and not be a head coach is a lot of moolah. It's a lot. Okay. If LSU starts winning or losing, and more importantly, if LSU started losing, nobody's going to be calling for an assistant coach's job. Nobody. They go for the head coach. It brings into another assistant coach going through this right now is Brian Hartline at Ohio State. Every year he brings in, 2 or 3 5-star wide receivers. And everyone says, why doesn't Brian Hartline be a head coach? Well, the truth is, a lot of these athletic directors want a head coach with head coaching experience. So Brian Hartline would have to take a head coaching job somewhere else at a non-Power 5 level job and make the exact same amount of money he currently is making at Ohio State, which is $900,000. Now, if he has head coach aspirations, all the power to him. Go to Toledo or whatever and see if you actually are a good head coach. But part of your success as an assistant coach is where you are as well, right? It's the school. Brian Hartline is probably the best wide receiver coach in the sport. But a big reason why he's the best wide receiver coach in the sport is that he is at a school where the best wide receivers want to go, if that makes sense. Gets into what we were just talking about a minute ago with the Corey Raymond discourse, or actually a few live streams ago. Corey Raymond is a really good defensive back coach, and he's going to go from one elite or the elitist defensive back producer to another really good defensive back producer. But is it him or is it the school? I would say probably 70% the school, 30% the coach. So for me, yes, I think all of us would rather be the head coach so you can get the $8, $9, $10 million contract. But $900K a year to not have to deal with the head coach responsibilities and pressure isn't a bad job at all. It's not. Scooby, good to see you again. But it is true, Nola Chris, if Brian Kelly wins a national championship in the next 5 years and just wants to retire at 65 or 68 or whatever, after 8 years or whatever, Frank's going to get the job. Frank would get the job. Let's go to Adam's super chat here. A dual threat quarterback are great to have, but like Tom Brady said, a pocket passer is still the best option. Yes and no. I agree with this. I still believe most games are won in the pocket. I do, right? But I also believe that, dual threat quarterbacks do give a little bit more to your offense if your pocket quarterback isn't able to make full field reads, right? I feel as if the LSU offense in 2019 was a lot more complicated than people like to think of it. They just made it look very easy because we had the best players you could have to run that offense, right? But there's different offensive philosophies, right? And to me, one thing that is not talked enough about, Adam, in the sport of football is the art of play calling. Okay. The art of play calling is very strange because some play calls are designed by the offensive coordinator to get somebody open, right? It's the design of the play is the reason why the play is successful with the help of the players executing the play. Okay. Think the 2020 Alabama offense. Sark was able to scheme a lot of things open with pre-snap motion. Now he had really good players doing it, but that offense is going to give you more layups per se. Whereas the 2019 LSU offense is more complicated, right? It's more of a pro-ish offense where you're trusting your quarterback to throw the football to the guy who has the best matchup, right? And if you go back and look at a lot of LSU's plays, there were some plays where the scheme of the play was the reason why something opened up. But then there was also a lot of plays where it was just one guy mossing another guy, right? It was a good mixture of both. I think what happened after 2019 was Orgeron thought you can do that in 2020 and 2021. And you could, honestly, in 2020, because Miles Brennan, Terrace Marshall, Eric Gilbert, and those guys were getting open. It's just our execution wasn't where it needed to be. And we then tried to run that offense with true freshman quarterbacks and deteriorating offensive line play, and it fell apart. And then we continued that in 2021, and it all fell apart. So I think, Adam, the big key is going to be what Mike Denbrock is going to do offensively. I think whoever he has at quarterback, it's going to be very key to give them simple reads, right? RPOs, easy throws, easy completions, more layup kind of throws. Because Max was asked to do a lot because we were still trying to bring back the Joe Brady offense. Ed Orgeron brought it up himself. So no matter who the quarterback is, whether it's a dual threat quarterback, and a dual threat does open things up if the plays do break down, I think the play caller is going to have to be really special as well. Oh, there's a lot. I mean, a lot of dual threat quarterbacks have long-term success. I mean, most of your famous quarterbacks are pocket quarterbacks, but Steve Young was a dual threat quarterback, and now in the NFL, Josh Allen's a dual threat quarterback. Justin Herbert's a dual threat quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, obviously. Mahomes not as much with his legs as those other two guys. Obviously, Allen's a better runner than those two guys. And obviously, Joe Burrow. Now, his first touchdown in the NFL was quarterback draw. Now, he's not going to run because of the knee, but he's still a playmaker. Yeah. Josh Allen is the best quarterback of the NFL right now. He's going to 1.1 in all dynasty leagues. Obviously, that's not representation of who the best quarterback is, but Allen or Mahomes is 1-2, right? If you were to poll every NFL GM and say, who are you building your franchise around right now for the next 10 years, Allen or Mahomes are going to be the pick, or Herbert. My pick would be Joe. I'm biased. My pick would be Joe. But yeah. Cormier TC, you get to pick the next topic. Oh, we got Jack Nicholson. You want to talk to Jack Nicholson? Courtside NBA. Jack Nicholson and The Departed. Oh, heavy is the head that wears the crown. I'm telling y'all. I mean, you do know Josh Allen played perfect in the playoffs. Perfect. He scored on every drive versus the Patriots. And it's not his fault that his coach cowardly punted on 4th and short. It's not his fault that the Bills' defense couldn't hold a lead for 13 seconds. Josh Allen had the best 2-game run of any quarterback in the postseason, but he just didn't get the end result. That wasn't his fault. If there was ever a case, an example of where a quarterback wins is an unfair statistic, there you go. Huh? It's just Patrick Mahomes was on the other sideline. And that's the kind of scary thing about Joe is Joe made it to the Super Bowl, and he never played his best in any of the games. That's what people, sleep on about Joe. Is this playoff run that wasn't peak Burrow. He just found a way to win those games, right? Ironically, it was kind of Brady-like. If you go look at a lot of Brady's playoff wins, they're kind of just find a way to do it kind of wins, right? Go to Cormier's super chat. Thank you so much, Cormier. Oh, DeMarquise wants to talk some Malik Willis. Are you kidding me? Guys, I got to say this. I'm going to give you some free game. Some of you think I'm smoking a Tennessee pack tonight. Tennessee is going to win the East. Treylon Burks is going to be the rookie of the year in the NFL. Why is everybody worried about this guy's asthma? What they've done to Treylon Burks is the same thing they did to Jamar Chase last offseason. He can't catch. He dropped a pass in a preseason game. I wish I was playing dynasty leagues last year. Wish. So I could just keep taking Jamar Chase in rookie drafts. Buying the dip, baby. They're doing this. Burks is going to be the best receiver in this last draft. And I think Arkansas is going to miss him this year a lot. He's special. Go back to 2019 and look at that catch Treylon Burks made versus us as a true freshman in Tiger Stadium. He mossed some DB. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Fulton. What defensive transfer do you think makes the biggest impact this year? It's a good question, Cormier. Okay. Type in the comment section who will be the biggest transfer this year. Okay. In the comments section, who will be the biggest defensive transfer? So this is Chris's guy. Gotta show Chris some love. He's been banging this drum for a while. Okay. Makai Wingo. Very interesting. So Makai Wingo wins the 2022 Iron Tiger Award. This is, I believe, new. And this goes to the guy who is the most consistent performer when it comes to working out. And Makai Wingo won this award. And if you go look a little bit deeper, Makai Wingo wins a lot of these kinds of awards. You see him, winning the nutrition award, taking his body very seriously. This was an all SEC true freshman defensive tackle. Remember, we were talking about it earlier in the stream, breakout age. How good are you early on? Makai Wingo was a really good freshman defensive tackle last year. I think he's going to be a good rotational piece along with Jacoby and Guillory. And I'm very happy he's with LSU, wearing that number departed by Neil Farrell. So Chris says Makai Wingo. LA Mom says Jarek Bernard Converse. Chance says Greg Brooks. Tremont Shorts. Oh yeah, he's offensive. He's Cormier says he's stuck between two Razorbacks. A lot of Razorback chatter in here tonight. Jacob says, I am buying the hype. I am buying the upside here with 7 banks. Lots of good picks. Okay. It's good stuff. Now, speaking of upside, you know who else has upside? Do you know who else has upside? Do you know who else has upside? Let me know in the comments section. Bang! She wins it again. LA Mom always winning. We got a bunch of newbies saying Presley. Presley? Who's Presley? I don't see anybody on the LSU roster named Presley. Presley Collection has upside. Presley Collection, PresleyCollection.com. Shout out to Anthony Starr Presley. Presley Collection, PresleyCollection.com, and bang! Only trusting him with the most important night of my life. Miles Brennan has upside. Noah Kane has upside. Chris Hilton does have upside as well. Ron Brooks' ride is upside as well. But Anthony Starr Presley, diamond rings, diamond pendants, bling bling. Your main chick, your side chick, your main dude, main piece, side piece, whatever you want to call it. Rings, necklaces, watches. Presley Collection, PresleyCollection.com. If they pay Joe early, they'll be fine. Miles Brennan, Thomas, okay. Paris, what's going on, buddy? Paris, I know you're a big basketball fan, so you leave me during the offseason. I am too. There's Linda. Linda was actually our first Presley Collection trivia winner. LA Mom, 2-time winner. I'm telling you, fellas, the ladies are going to keep winning this. Now you see why? Look at that smile right there from Linda. You can do that right now with your significant other. Pressy Collection, pressycollection.com. If you want to get a one-on-one consultation, just reach out to me and I'll link you up with the man himself. Okay? You see why the LSU players like talking to him. Pressy Collection, pressycollection.com. All right, Pabber. Give you a little dose of reality here. This is not a good take. And I like Chris. This isn't a good take, though. And I like hot takes. And you might be right. If it's the spectrum, if you were to have a spectrum, whatever a spectrum might be, but if there was a spectrum, it is not out of the realm of possibility that this happens. But the thing is, Pabbers, it's not going to happen because Malik is really, really, really good. It's not saying Chris Hilton can't be really, really, really good. But more often than not, the guys who produce from the year before are the same guys that produce the next year. Malik produced. Chris Hilton, of course, was very hurt. But Malik is that guy. Okay? Jackson number 2 and Kayshawn's number 1. Okay? Very interesting pairs. It could have a 2018 kind of feel where you just kind of have to go out there and find some ways to win. Okay? The hard part about it, though, okay, that's where it gets really tricky, is in 2018, it was a little bit easier to do that, right? The SEC is just tougher. I just think it's tougher. Like, obviously, 2018, the schedule Georgia being on the schedule made it harder. But I think the biggest secret regarding Georgia was Jake Fromm was holding them back. And that game was a good example as to why Jake Fromm was terrible in that game. And, you know, we won that game, but Mississippi State wasn't that good. Arkansas, it was the first year with Morris. They were horrible. So, yeah, I mean, you would like to think that it could be that good. It's just that year you could win a lot of games ugly because there were some bad teams in the SEC. Doug says, no excuses. We have better talent, better coaching. We better go 9-3. Mike Jones. Who? By the way, Luke joined the PHL T-shirt club. If you join the PHL T-shirt club tonight, oh, well, actually, I gave this away. Rob got the Fournette card. I'll give away another Fournette card if, or I'll give out a Burrow. If you join the PHL club tonight, I will send you this Joe Burrow rookie card. Exactly. Carl, there's been a back order on all my extra large shirts, but Carl is also a new member of the PHL T-shirt club, and he requested one of my favorite cards right here. James Britt. You've got to be a super diehard LSU football fan to be a James Britt fan. Look at that card. Look at that. James Britt from, Minden, Louisiana. God, James Britt was a good player. 4-year starter. 8 career interceptions. What a career. Academic All SEC. Interesting. He was drafted. I won't say he was drafted by the Falcons. Had a career there, and then just stayed living in Atlanta. James Britt. Very interesting. Paris, I've been waiting for you to join the PHL T-shirt club. I got you. I got your Christian Fulton cards. I actually got a few K baby cards. I'll pull up the Vegas odds right here. Bang. Okay. Now, this was DraftKings last week. Carl wants to talk over under. So we will do that for PHL T-shirt club members. Okay. LSU at 7. So it's interesting if you think LSU, you can get it at 6.5, but it's going to be juiced towards the over. Whereas if you get it at 7, it's juiced towards the under. So Carl said, "Look, Carter, in my PHL T-shirt, I'm gonna pack up, go to Circuit Casino in Vegas, and put my bet in." Okay. Todd McClure going to the Falcons Ring of Honor, 14 years, all with the Atlanta Falcons. Congrats, old Todd. What is your favorite bet on this board, not LSU related? Mr. EJ, 1461, good to see you again. Here's how I'm going to do, Mr. EJ. I will answer your question if you change your profile photo. I want to see what Mr. EJ 1461 looks. I want to know what the 1461 stands for. Was that the year of your birth? Because that'd be pretty wild. 1461. That was a long time ago. 1461. What is that? That's pre. That's like pre-Columbus, right? Like 14. Dang. Carrie, that seems to be a very popular pick, but it's not. The under is actually where everyone's taking that bet. Okay. But if you feel comfortable, Vanderbilt, you're getting plus money. I love that Texas A&M's over under is at 8.5. Ah, I come on, it's Texas A&M. You know they're going to be exactly 8-4 when they are 8-3 when they play us. You know it. You know they're going to be exactly 8-3 when they play us. But it is interesting though. Someone said I wouldn't take a lot of the overs. It is very, very interesting that a lot of the overs are minus money. They're juiced per se. Chris says, Carter, I hate your freaking face. I'm taking the under on Tennessee. Brutal schedule. Brutal schedule for the Volunteers. I am very worried about their defensive coordinator. I'm not a big fan. He was at Penn State for a while. But they could score a lot of points. Alabama at 10.5, over at minus 255. Under at plus 205. Okay, let's go game by game. Okay, if you want to super chat an LSU related question, feel free to go right on ahead, but we'll just do this. Alabama 10.5. Type O for over, type U for under. Let me check on the poll question here. Are you going to attend an LSU game in Tiger Stadium this year? Very interesting. Okay. Carl says under on Bama. Okay. There's Minnesota Steve. Minnesota Steve, let me know when you send your check, my guy, because I got your shirts ready to go. What's up, John Sibley? It's been a while. Good to see you, man. I say it's been a while. It's just you've been at every live chat recently. Good to see you. DeMarquis says under on the Alabama. So while you get your Arkansas picks in, I'll go ahead and throw a little break in here on PHL. Type O for O, type U for under for Arkansas. For Arkansas. O for over, U for under. Hey, LA Mom is fading Arkansas. Hogs will not surprise people this year. Okay. So for these next three, Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, which one of these four is the biggest lock to go under? Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky. Type A for Auburn, type F for Florida, type G for Georgia, type K for Kentucky. DeMarquis, please keep the language clean if you can. I'm not against cursing, but it's YouTube, man. We're family-friendly programming. Stubby says Kentucky. Jacob, dang, a lot of you are fading Kentucky. Cormier says Auburn. Cormier, good to see you. I like seeing that, Cormier. Look at that. Look at the smiles here. Got the LSU hats. This is the Vanderbilt game. Looks like it's a Vanderbilt game in 2019. There you go. I like seeing that. Nothing like some good family in LSU football, man. You can't beat that. It's the dream. Like, I'm very lucky that I've been to so many games with my dad. I've been to all 4 of the national championship games with my dad. I'm very lucky. I'm spoiled, honestly. Dang, Doug says Georgia is the biggest lock to go under. Doug, why are you fading Georgia? All right. All right, LSU. I am moving LSU's win total here. Let's do this. LSU's new poll question is up. Now, LSU's win total is set at 9.5. Let's just say I just took over Vegas and I moved the win total up 2.5 wins. LSU at 9.5, and let's say it's minus 110. So even money on both sides. Okay. Is that 9.5? What side are you taking? Here's what I do. Okay. So whenever there's like anything sports money related, I don't gamble a whole lot. I don't do too much sports betting. If I place a bet, though, there's so much that goes into sports betting more so than just feel. Like there's hold percentages. I know a lot of you that don't do sports betting, you're confused by the over under thing. Um, and I can explain it, but it can get boring. But there's that aspect of it, right? Juice, hold percentage, sharp money, all these different things, right? If I am placing a wager, though, I like to be pretty certain that it's going to hit. Now, sports are weird, but I like to have a pretty decent idea that this bet is going to hit. I'm telling you, John Sibley's been saying, we're you've been underrating the Tigers. Now, remember, this is very important. I don't know how many of you know this or not. For over under win, I should have included this early. For win totals, the the win total is not including the bowl game. So this isn't 10-3. If you're predicting over, that means you're predicting LSU to go 10-2 or better. Okay. Now Jacob has been banging the 15-0 drum for quite some time. That would be the greatest coaching turnaround ever. I really do mean it. That would be as good as it gets. Carl says 9 would be a success. LSU will shock the nation in 2022. I love it. Transfers in the secondary cost you 2 games. Ooh. Dang, the votes are legit tied 50-50. Should have won 9 last year. I don't know about that. So we were 6-6 at the end of the year. Um, I think 6-6 was a fair representation of how that team was coached. What games should they have won? Arkansas, maybe. Alabama, maybe. I mean, I just think that those games are evenly matched. And when you play evenly matched games, you're gonna win half of them and lose the other half. It's normally how it goes. Brian says over. Dang, John Sibley, bringing it. That's funny. Let's see here. All right, Stubby, we'll see you, man. Next time for Oklahoma fans, it's a $5 cover charge. That's how it works. Under wins the poll. Okay. You ready to keep this SEC exercise moving along? Let me see. John Sibley's just fading Auburn. Okay. Aaron, what's good? And Sibley, you got to know your enemy, man. Keep your friends close, enemies closer. All right. Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina. Which one of these four teams is the most likely to go over their win total? Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina. It's interesting. Ole Miss has a very favorable schedule. Mississippi State, Missouri, Ole Miss, South Carolina. I'm going to go grab some really quickly. Which one of these four has the best chance of going over? Okay. Lots of Ole Misses there. Ugh. Mizzou. Leonard, what's good? Ole Miss going over. Ole Miss. SMC says South Carolina. Ole Miss. South Carolina. Mizzou. What was the question? Out of these, I sneakily like Missouri. I do. Look, I love it when a win total is at 5.5. Now, why do I love it at 5.5? Well, you got to get to 6 for bowl berth. Now, what does Missouri have at quarterback? I don't know. But what I do know is what they have on their schedule. Okay. Mizzou, Middle Tennessee State, win. Missouri, week 2 at Kansas State. Now, Kansas State does return a lot. We're pretty familiar with them, obviously, from the bowl game. They probably lose that game. But that's not something that I'm just going to 1,000% say is going to be a victory for Kansas State. Then they play Abilene. I think Missouri wins that game. Then they get Auburn as their non-cross division rival game. That game is in Jordan-Hare, so it does get a little difficult. But once again, that Kansas State and Auburn, I know those are both road games, but it's not out of the realm of possibility that Missouri wins one of those games. Now they get Georgia, they'll lose that one. And then they're at Florida before a bye week. Then before the bye week, they get Vanderbilt. Okay. So I'm looking at through the first 8 weeks, you're telling me that I can have a 4-3 football team? Okay. Then at South Carolina, Kentucky, at Tennessee, New Mexico State, Arkansas. I think they're a 5 to 6 win team heading into that Arkansas game. And they're at home. A winner-take-all bowl berth game. I like Missouri right here over, and I'm getting plus money. Tony, you're going to the Kansas State game? Do you live near Manhattan? It's very interesting. And Mizzou, Blake Baker, their new DC. By default, they should be better on the defensive side. Now we get down here. Tennessee, A&M, Vanderbilt. Which one of these 3 teams, Tennessee, A&M, Vanderbilt, has the best chance of going under the win total? Okay. Believe it or not, Vegas believes it's Vanderbilt here. They're begging you to take the under. Begging you. No, they're begging you to take the over. Excuse me. SMC still said Vanderbilt. I'm right here. I'm letting you guys answer. Vandy's going 0-12. Loses to Elon. Vandy should start the season at 3-1. I'm fine. I'm honestly just chilling. I like to let the live stream breathe. You know, one of the best things, like if you ever listen to like the best of the best comedians, they're not the best at telling jokes. They are the best at when to pause, right? You know, when you talk for 2 hours straight, sometimes that silence is very relaxing. So there you go. So we have reached the end of the live stream. As you guys know, as we always do, another fun live stream, another epic live stream. Thanks again. The usual suspects obviously leading the way. Van, obviously big supporter of PHL and what we're doing. Shout out to Van. And also shout out to Chris and Rob G. Chris, obviously our last patron, along with Michael B. Once again, patreon.com/LSU football. And as many of you know, when you buy a PHL shirt, you always get some super dope cards. Rob is getting the Leonard Fournette card. Shout out to him. So there you go. Heck yeah, I'm still here, LA Mom. 2020. And you've yet to send me a photo. You rocking your PHL shirt. So I'll answer as many questions as I possibly can in the next 5 minutes. If you super chat, though, we'll keep this thing going all night long. And the words are Lionel Richie. Day number 968 of Carter still not watching Jaden F. Daniels outduel Justin Herbert. Cormier, thank you so much. I have a feeling Cormier is either going to join the Patreon or the PHL T-shirt club in the next live stream. Sleep on it. I know you're going to do it Saturday night. We'll see you there. You'll be joining the club. Oh, you know what I should have done? I don't think Van's here anymore, but Van did have a tweet recently. Here at PHL, we love LSU football, but the second most important thing is food. It's a big thing about our channel. Okay, you guys have gotten to know me quite a bit, but there are some things I love in life. Obviously, sports memorabilia is one of them, but more generally, I love food and dogs and my fiance. Okay, outside of LSU football, that's it. I love other sports. I just love sports in general. I don't watch much TV. There's not really a lot of stuff that I do outside of sports. Obviously, stand-up. I love stand-up. I do listen to podcasts. Revisionist History Season 7 has been really good. Really, really good. This last episode on Will and Grace was really interesting. Really, I've never even seen Will and Grace. But really, I love food. So Van had a tweet go out that said, what is he, and we're going to talk about this in the Discord as well. What is the best way to cook a steak? Or what is the best cooking oil to cook a steak? I think that was the question. But it's interesting that, like, Haley's dad is like one of the best just cooks I know. But he doesn't use any cooking oil with the steak. You just got to get that a Blackstone or a skillet just really hot. Put some salt in there, and that takes care of it. Okay. But yeah, the best way to cook a steak is medium rare. We know that. That's not even up for debate. But the you got to get the skillet. There you go, John. Thank you so much, John Sibley. I appreciate it. So we're gonna be here for a while. Everyone thank Mr. Sibley Butler. Obviously, he's done a lot in his LSU career. Charles Alexander, that was so cool. He was like, John Sibley Butler. And then we got to know a little bit more about you, man. But yeah, it is interesting. John, you get to pick the next topic. I know you love talking LSU football. Anything LSU football related, we'll go straight to it. Okay. So for me, he doesn't actually use cooking oil. He just gets the skillet really hot. And yeah. I need to check this out. Day 968 of Carter still not watching Jaden F. Daniels outduel Justin Herbert. Yeah, Jordan, I think that's one of the biggest mysteries in the NFL, right? Is why didn't Justin Herbert dominate more in college? Let's talk some recruiting. Okay. So Chris, you follow recruiting very closely. Yeah, let's talk about recruiting in Louisiana. Now, there's been a debate about, are we concerned that so much of LSU's recruiting has been out of state, right? Here's the truth about Louisiana recruiting. And it's a hard truth that actually paints LSU in a really positive light. Most kids go to school for their goes to a certain school for their personal benefit. Okay. Doesn't matter which school it is. They're going to go to their school for their biggest personal benefit, right? That is not always the case for LSU. Sometimes as a 3-star, it is not the best for you to go to LSU if you're not really that good. Let's say you get a late offer and you're not good. You should have gone somewhere where you're better served to actually play. There is something about LSU's connection to the state of Louisiana that is deeper than football, right? It's deeper. And I think a lot of you know this, that Louisiana recruits, especially the 3-stars, you get a lot of these gems. You get a lot. And most of LSU's legendary players are out-of-staters. Kidding. They're in-staters. So I understand that from the outside looking in, that there's a lot of people concerned about Louisiana. But you shouldn't be. Number one, this class in particular featured a lot of guys that were never going to LSU or weren't really considering LSU. Arch Manning is one of those guys. Eli Holstein is kind of one of those guys. Okay. Same thing is true with Tackett Curtis. Now, I could get into all the reasons why, but it's just that was just there. That was even during the Orgeron tenure. Jay Nosberry, we saw his older brother go to Auburn. There's a lot of the top 10 guys in Louisiana this cycle that were never going to LSU. It's just how it was for the state. But the truth is that LSU is going to end up doing just fine in the state of Louisiana. A lot of these guys have nudged, winked, that number one, they're probably going to pick LSU. And number two, that they're probably going to make their decision before the season actually began. Okay? One of those guys is Shelton Sampson, my number one player in the state of Louisiana. He's going to commit to LSU. He's going to do it before the season begins. Okay? Zalance Hurd. He's going to pick LSU. Probably going to do it before the season begins. Kai Prean. More of the same. Okay? So, for me, I think LSU is going to land all those guys. And then you have Tyree Adams, 4-star offensive lineman out of St. Aug. So you're telling me that LSU is going to land 4 out of the top 15 guys in the state of Louisiana before their high school seasons begin? Yeah. Yeah. So recruiting in the state of Louisiana is fine. It is a little unorthodox to have all these out-of-staters committed. But they're going to go to LSU. But there's all these great quarterbacks and they're going elsewhere. Sometimes it's like that. It's fine. A lot of these guys are going to be committing soon. And then we don't have to talk about recruiting for a while. Let's just say things are heading in the right direction. So I'm lucky to have a few people that know this young man that watch the channel. And And a lot of you know how I feel about Derek Williams. He's my number 2 guy in Louisiana. Let's just say that the ball is rolling here and it's not over. It's going to be hard. It's going to take a while, but it's not over, right? It'll be okay. Now, is Derek Williams a better safety than the guys that LSU currently has committed? Probably. Probably so. But then again, it's 2 guys compared to losing that one. Not the worst thing in the world. It's not. I do feel, though, and it's just how this always is, I do feel that there could be some decommitments. I could feel some decommitments coming. I could, from some guys that are already committed. Especially at position groups that are a little bit more crowded. Not much of an intel guy, but it's just how those things actually work out sometimes. But decommitments happen everywhere. It's normal. It's just how this business works. So don't freak out. Remember, it's not one player. It's how many darts do you have to throw at the dartboard, right? And what I mean by that is how many of these really good 4-star guys can you get committed? Because obviously the higher ranked class leads to more team success. Okay. It's going to be okay. So Derek Williams, we'll see what happens. I've got a lot of questions about it. Done a lot of work on this. You guys don't know how I feel about, recruiting intel in particular. Number one, I will never scoop a kid's announcement. It's just not what I'm about. I have known about some kids' announcements. It's not for me. And I'm not much of an intel recruiting thing because there's just so much nuances. And we talked about this today in the Discord as well. You really should join the Discord. There's so many guys behind the scenes that you never even hear of that are doing a lot of the day-to-day communications with recruiting, and it sucks. It's not easy. Now they're getting paid to do it, and there's a lot of people that are willing to do it, but it's not easy. Jordan wants to talk about Nicholas Harbor, okay? Yeah, I mean, I think he's the best player in 2023. I do. But is it within the realm of possibility that LSU lands Nicholas Harbor? Yeah, because they got an official visit set up for a game. I don't know. Obviously, my dream is to get DJ Hicks, but as long as that kid doesn't go to Texas A&M, I'm happy. I think he's good. I think he's really good. Lots of good defensive linemen in this class, and I still stand by it. I'm a little bit higher on Darren Reed than most. On 3 actually agrees with me on that. I think he's really good. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. I do think, Sibley, I'm glad, we didn't talk much recruiting tonight. I do think Deshaun Womack is very interesting because he is moving up recruiting boards. I'm also buying some Kyle Parker stock. The more I look into him, the more I really like him. So yeah. Hicks is a good football player, though. I love that kid. I really do. He's a good kid. I actually know his dad. I do. And his dad was a monster. His dad played in the league. And when Hicks came to LSU and lit it up in one-on-ones. He was going up against like Will Campbell and just and in those one-on-one drills, the defensive lineman has a huge advantage. But when I saw him beating Will Campbell, I was like, God, this kid's good. This kid is good. He's a monster. But we'll see. Michael B, what's good? Yeah, so Nicholas Harbor, I mean, he's an edge defensive standing outside linebacker, pass rusher kind of guy. And offensively, he's a slot receiver, tight end, or just a receiver, honestly. He's just a freak. He runs 10.38 in the 100 meter, which honestly that's got to be one of the fastest times for any high school recruit ever. And you're running that as a linebacker edge player. That is absurd. That is absolutely absurd. You you you've got to really be flying, right? And he would be the fastest player on the team if you run 10.38 at that size. That's insane. I think because of his athleticism, he would get drafted straight out of high school. If you're just like that athletic. Because in the NFL, let's be honest, they want to see good film, but they draft you because of upside and traits. Trendon was like 10 flat or like 10-1. Trendon's like an Olympian level, so that's Olympian level. 10, so 10.38 is what DK Metcalf ran. So yeah, I mean that would be insane. He's a good football player, Harbor, but it's more than just like football. You're looking at something that's transcendent. Like it's crazy. 10.38. It's insane, man. So like Jaylen Brown is his best attribute of speed, right? It's by far his best attribute as a wide receiver. And he's 10.66. Right. So that shows you how fast 10.38 is for an outside linebacker. Now, obviously, straight line speed, there's more to football than just that. But it's hard. It's hard to get that fast. So yeah, he's DK Metcalf essentially as an athlete. Now he's not as muscular, obviously. Not many people are. But it's a good point. Like if you're 10.38, I don't know. I don't know. Because then you get into, can you make more money as a receiver or a pass rusher, right? Like when Kyle Pitts' deal comes up here in like a few years, he's going to tell people, hey, I am not a tight end. I am a wide receiver, right? And this is something else. I know we've been promoting the Discord a lot, but we've talked about a lot of some of these other topics today. Uh, like Travis Kelsey is not paid like one of the best football players of the modern era, even though he is arguably the best tight end of all time. Uh, he hasn't made that much money, like in comparison to what other players have made in their careers. So it's honestly very interesting because tight ends don't make bank. They just don't. But wide receivers do, right? And edge rushers do as well. It's the edge rushers, corners make the most. It's very interesting. All right, all you cool cats and kittens. This was a fun live stream. I want to give big thanks to our big time super chatters today, Van and Rob G, helping me pay rent and pay for an upcoming wedding. I really appreciate you guys. And join our Discord, join our Patreon community. You could see you get an extra film study a week. You can't really beat that. That I do not post on here. You get more content if you are a film study nut. Smart Chris. Michael B just joined PHL Patreon. Thanks to Jordan. Because of Jordan, I am going to go look at this Justin Herbert versus Jane Daniels highlight. I vaguely remember the game. Let's see here. There he is. Look at that. Look at him. Rocking the old school PHL shirt. I love the old school PHL shirt. I do. So, okay. We'll keep it going. Round of applause for Michael B. Yeah, Sibley, I've been hearing about this. So, Michael B, you get to pick the next topic. So, John, you know a little bit more in this aspect than most, the historical significance of this game, right? This game is more than just a football game, right? This is history, okay? Playing in this game is LSU versus the most prestigious HBCU school in South Louisiana and Southern. We know of a lot between the LSU Southern dynamic, the graphics of Baton Rouge, and quite simply, like how different HBCU football is viewed now since primetime Deion Sanders. And the HBCU football's got a lot of positive momentum right now. I am really excited about this game. I, however, probably will not be attending. I'm going more than likely. I'll be in I am going to be in New Orleans for the Florida State game, but I'm not like LA Mom. Don't go just yet. Don't go. Y'all tell LA Mom to hang out. You've almost made it all the way through. I don't know why you won't just keep hanging out. 5:45 a.m. That's nothing. But the truth is, I think a lot of people want to buy the ticket to see the band, right? LSU, arguably the best band in the SEC, can make a strong case. Golden Band and Tigerland, and the Golden Girls, and you're going to have Southern's halftime show. And this is going to be one of the most heavily anticipated halftime shows in the history of LSU football. Okay. And then, of course, you have the first home game for Brian Kelly. Okay. So tickets are selling. Tickets are selling. No Rotolo sponsorship just yet. So, Michael B, I actually have kicked the tires on this. I have a buddy who actually used to work at Rotolo's, and I reached out to him. He doesn't work there anymore. So I thought I had an in. I don't have an in. But here's the thing. I have a decent size audience. I don't have a Kevin Hart size audience. I don't have a Colin Cowherd type of audience. Not the, and it's also that first pregame too, right? Buster, you didn't miss nothing, man. Only missed the most epic. Not gonna lie, earlier this week, Tuesday night was epic, but tonight's been pretty epic as well. Michael B, you got to pick the next topic. Better hurry, man. Oh man, don't badmouth Cowherd, man. Love me some Colin. But that's the thing, I actually got to listen to him today, and he actually talked about this. Not everybody's going to be for everybody. I remember, bum 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 bum. It's funny, Michael. If no one knows what that is, bum 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 bum, you would think you'd be calling the Golden Band from Tigerland a bunch of bums. Huh? 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 But let me share. Colin brought up something pretty interesting. Um, you're not gonna like everybody. I remember this vividly. There was a pretty prominent writer with a pretty big following, and he sent out a message saying, "Hey, are there any good LSU YouTubers out there? I'm interested in a potential partnership or something like that." And a lot of I'm trying to remember how it actually happened. Someone tagged me, and then right underneath that tag. So think about this. Right underneath this tag, some random person on Twitter, never even heard of him, said, "Oh, that guy sucks. That guy sucks." So I saw it, and I responded to him, and I was like, "Well, why do I suck?" And he couldn't give a reason. He just said, "Hey, it's just not for me." So this guy, let's just say that guy was considering me for this position. Uh, that guy who just didn't like me at all for whatever reason, I don't know, could have just gone about his day. But instead, he crapped on me and said, "Oh, I just don't like you. I just don't. Can't tell you why. I just don't like you." Not everybody's for everybody. And I was fine with that guy not liking me. It's fine. But he disliked me so much. It was I'm such a menace to society that you are willing to potentially kill this opportunity for me. Never seen him in a chat before, never seen him on a comment. But that's how it is. So some people like Colin, some people like Dan Patrick, some people like Stephen A. Smith. It's crazy. I've actually been watching a ton of videos on this. Jacob Flint, I think it was like Sports Explained or something like that. There was a YouTube video on the strength and conditioning and all that stuff. What was interesting was Michael Johnson, the chief chef. They I've been reading and watching a few things on that. Uh, yeah, Michael, but yeah, I guess it's going great. Like, no major injuries. Players are reportedly gaining weight, gaining good weight. And it's interesting because there are a lot of very interesting players who are coming off injuries, in particular in the secondary. Obviously, Jarek Bernard Converse here at the end of spring, Seven Banks with his hip. LaTerrence Welsh had a very injury-plagued high school career. So, yeah, strength conditioning, very important. But apparently people are gaining the proper weight. Well, yeah, Jordan, I don't know. I don't know what happened to the opportunity. I don't even know if I was being seriously considered. My point though was like, you know, if there was something so pressing to where I was so terrible, you should be able to give a specific reason why you don't like it. Probably Perkins because he's not had the opportunity to play, but you guys know some of the guys that I like. Obviously, I'm always going to uh, like players that we've gotten to know, right? So obviously, we've had two current players, Slade Roy and Jack Besh, on the show. It's been a lot of fun having those two guys on, so we're going to be cheering for them. But I'm cheering for everybody. I know it's a political answer, but I am. All right, John Sibley, we'll see you Saturday night. Supposedly, he has gained that weight. All right, guys. I'll answer as many questions as I can in the next few minutes. If you do super chat, though, we'll keep this thing going. Yeah, that was in like an article. Unfortunately, SMC, every hip injury is always going to be compared to Bo Jackson. And it might be. We'll have to see him play this next year, but I doubt it's that bad. I doubt it. We talked about Mekhi Wingo some. I mean, a lot of you are really smart. Like, you follow LSU closely. Trying to think someone that's really off radar. Xavier Hill, Marlon Martinez are two interesting guys. As far as skill position guys, we've talked a good bit about pretty much everybody on the skill position. I'm going to give you one really deep cut walk on is let me make sure I'm getting his name correctly. I've seen him do a bunch of interviews, and he did have a few interesting plays in the spring game. And his name is Princeton Malbrew from Karen Crow. Okay. Very interesting player. I've seen him do a ton of interviews. He is a walk on. But you see LCA, obviously a really good high school program. He's a very interesting player. I could see him get some special teams reps. I can. All right, we're going to keep it going. Sage Ryan, Armani Goodwin. I could see it. Sage Ryan, obviously, when he played, he was actually pretty good last year. Ole Miss game was rough, but Lane Kiffin was, well, he knew what defense we were running every time. So he was just picking on everybody. Armani Goodwin, very interesting. Get a good stretch going. I hope Armani Goodwin has a really good season. I really do. Really, really, really do. Princeton Malbrew. I love that name. Haven't heard Sage Ryan's name's mentioned a lot. So there you go, Jordan. I think Bradford going makes a big impact for us this year. Mr. EJ, one of the many Alabama Tigers in here. We have a lot of Alabama Tigers. I'll be in Alabama here in a few weeks. Actually, pretty soon. What's today? Today's the 28th. I'm going to Fairhope. Let's go, Grand Junction. Stand up. Heard from a BK interview, he said the fans had tied in nearly every play on the field. Tied in right now. Yeah, I mean, look, Cole Taylor's first 2 years were rough, but at least he stuck it out. And I do think he needs to get meaner, right? He's get a little bit more physical and more aggressive in the blocking. As a receiver, he's fine, but the most important thing you can do as a player is be available, and he's done that. And he's going to get another chance here to win this job outright. And I think this is one of the few players on the team that you can legitimately 1000% say got a huge boost with the new coaching staff individually, right? You get recruited by Insminger, who was a tight end coach OC. Then he retires going into 2021. And now going into 2022, you get another tight end coach who's also the OC, who's produced a lot of good tight ends. And then you get Brian Kelly, who has had a long track record of amazing tight ends, right? Yeah, I don't want Cole Taylor's biggest achievement to be having his shoe thrown. Well, SMC, it's probably going to be the case. The funny thing about it is Cole Taylor could catch 40 passes for 1,000 yards or whatever, and it'd still not be as big as the shoe throw. That play was huge. Huge. And I know Florida ended up losing to Alabama, so they wouldn't have gotten the playoff anyway. But, and on the SEC channel, I'm actually going to talk about that play. That play was huge. Huge. Huge in the grand scheme of things, right? It broke Dan Mullen. And it honestly, that game will be remembered for the rest of eternity. Okay? The SEC in college football is known for chaos. And there's not many games that have ever been played that was more chaotic than that one. And the truth is, out of anybody in the SEC, now I need to go look this up for everybody, but no team has been involved with more chaos than LSU. Now, I'm not able to know every last little single game that every other team has played in the SEC, but LSU is no less than top 3. And out of all the chaotic endings, LSU Tennessee in 2010, LSU A&M in 2018, Bluegrass Miracle in 03, or 02, excuse me, Jamarcus Russell versus Arizona State. Out of all these crazy endings, the shoe throw is unlike anything you'll ever see. And it broke Dan Mullen, because I do think Kyle Pitts was healthy enough to play, and it goes to show you the beauty of college football. That game ended it. No matter if they beat Alabama, they wouldn't have gotten a playoff. They wouldn't have got in. So yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts. All right, I'll answer as many questions as I can in the next few seconds. If you do super chat, we'll keep this night moving along. I don't care. I'll keep going till if it's just one. All right. All you cool cats and kittens, it's been a fun one. Don't worry. You can come hang out and chat with me in the Discord. So come on over, patreon.com/LSU football. Edit! Power Hour LSU. Bah! And tonight, steak and halloumi salads. Let's go.